Apologies for the hairy shoulders, it is hot and I'm sweaty, so I've got a vest on today. Hey Spuds, how's it going? I hope you're well. It's Jamie and welcome back to another video. Thank you for clicking on it as always. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video that I came across. It wasn't very hard to find, frustratingly. But yeah, essentially, I just have this list of videos that I come across that I think would be interesting to react to, and today it is the turn of this one, which you don't know which one it is yet, but you will in very shortly, in a second minute, very quickly. I don't think there's really much point in waffling too much before I get into it. I'm just gonna watch the video and react to it. We can react together. I need my glasses though. There we go. No ring light today, so the lighting might be a bit weird, but that's because I've decided I need to watch these videos in HD, although I'm feeling like I might regret that today. So yes, without further ado, let's watch the video. Are you ready? I'm ready, let's go.
Hey guys, it's Nadia and welcome to my channel. Okay, so this is actually the first time that I've ever spoken about anything to do with transgender on my channel.
Grammatically incorrect use of transgender. Maybe I'm just getting a slight feeling that it should have been kept at 0, that number of how many times transgender has been spoken about on her channel.
I guess for me personally, I don't really concern myself too much with what the trans people of our society are doing. However,
However,
I do have moral qualms with children transitioning, as I believe that it is a form of child abuse.
I have moral qualms about those lines on the video. Are they a distraction technique? And I also have moral qualms about people sticking their nose into trans issues when they don't know what they're talking about.
We're now seeing children as young as 6 and 4 years of age transitioning, which is absolutely frightening. Like, don't get me wrong, because I'm all for children expressing themselves. However,
I'm all for children expressing themselves as long as it fits with what I view as being correct. I think that's what she's getting at.
I believe that children can express themselves without being put on puberty blockers or without transitioning. And especially because the bottom line is that children do not have the intellectual maturity to make such a fallible decision.
Puberty blockers are completely reversible. They just prevent puberty from happening at a certain time. You take a kid off it, puberty happens. Transitioning wise, also not permanent. Let kids explore, let them investigate stuff. I mean, scientific research has shown that it just makes kids happier and better adjusted to be allowed to socially transition.
And what I'm seeing from a lot of these trans lobbyists and progressives is that they're monetizing off a lot of these children's brainwash narratives.
Monetizing off brainwash narratives, that does not make sense. I'm so, what? Does she think it's a money-making scheme? Oh, let's trick kids into thinking they're trans and transition them to make money? Is that what this is?
You know, if we don't trust children to cross the street by themselves, why are we trusting them to make such a life-altering decision like transitioning into the opposite sex?
Because cars can kill you. I don't understand these completely nonsensical comparisons. Why are we comparing socially transitioning as a child to crossing the street as a child on your own? Transitioning is not gonna kill you. Actually, it will save a lot of people.
It's crazy.
It's crazy that you're talking about something that you know nothing about.
Especially because the very nature of children is change. Children are always changing. They're always going through phases. And a lot of times children go through exploration phases with the opposite sex. And sometimes these phases last years. So I think that there actually needs to be some kind of, I guess, system put in place that safeguards these children against being victimized to this propaganda.
It's not propaganda. There is a significant amount of safeguarding and hoops to jump through and monitoring and assessments and all of this stuff. It is not easy for kids to access treatment if they're trans.
Our children are becoming pawns in the left-wing radicals' fight to push a very scary social and sexual agenda, and I am against that.
I'm so confused about this agenda. The transgender agenda. The transgender agenda is for trans people to be happier. That's it. It's not forcing anyone else to be trans. It's just the people that are trans to be able to access treatment and live our lives in peace.
Studies have been done to show that no one is trapped in the wrong body, or no one is trapped in the body of the opposite sex. And
give me citations.
this is a narrative that we hear a lot. You know, well, let's believe that unless a child can start transitioning, then they're not really living as their true, authentic self. And so these studies on twins that were done has shown that 28% of identical twins both identified as trans, while the other 72% of the time they differed. So what this shows is that there are non-biological factors contributing to trans identifying as the opposite sex.
Contributing is the complete key. And twin studies also show that identical twins can differ in their sexual orientation as well, but there is evidence that both being trans and being gay have biological bases. I don't know, that probably made me sound really dumb, I'm sorry. But basically there are many other things at play, things like epigenetics, split placentas occur in twins even if they're identical, and that can lead to different influxes of hormones at different prenatal stages of development, which can lead to some people being trans, but the twin not being trans. There's loads of different things going on.
And 75% of all gender dysmorphic youth,
Gender dysmorphic, definitely doesn't know what she's talking about.
actually show signs of being happy with their biological sex after they hit puberty. So
yes, some children when they get older no longer have gender dysphoric feelings, but the point is multiple studies have found that before this, like even earlier than puberty, there are clear differences between a group of children who show gender dysphoric traits in childhood but grow up to not identify as transgender and not have those feelings anymore, and the group that have gender dysphoric feelings in childhood and grow up to identify as transgender. They're two very distinctive groups.
the insidious risk of children transitioning is that we don't know if it is just a phase or if it's legit. So the support actually might be harmful because you may be encouraging a child to transition.
I'm not sure if people really ever encourage a child to transition. At best, you'd find people who are willing to support a child in what they are telling you is right for them.
When it is just a phase. And as we see, the majority of trans children actually become happy with their biological sex after they hit puberty.
No trans children do. A portion of children who showed some signs of being gender dysphoric in childhood do grow up to not have those feelings in adulthood, but they are not those that are trans. There's a difference. You can't tell half the story.
Now, don't get me wrong, if a full-grown adult wants to make that transition, that's on them. You know, they have the emotional, intellectual, and sexual maturity to make that decision.
Basically what she's saying, oh, okay, you're an adult, right, I don't agree with trans people, but like, I don't care, you do what you want with your body, that's fine.
You know, once upon a time, any kind of gender confusion would have been diagnosed as a mental illness, but not anymore. And, you know, it's because of this political correctness that we're afraid to call it what it is. And that's scary because we should be treating the underlying issue first and foremost.
What does she think the underlying issue is? The underlying issue of people being trans is that they are trans.
Before we're getting these children to transition and putting them on puberty blockers. You know, once upon a time, if somebody persistently and consistently insisted
that
they were something that defies normal physical reality, we would have treated them as if they were delusional.
Yes, back in Victorian times when we did not know science properly, and before then when we did not know science properly, but now we have the scientific basis for the treatment that we provide to trans people. You need to bring your brain out of the dark ages and into where we are at now with the knowledge that we have, because it is very different to the times where people who identified as gay or trans or women who wanted to wear trousers were put in insane asylums. We have moved on from those times, thank God.
But again, not anymore. And what is scary is the growing support from parents and the medical community.
I think something that's great to see is the growing support from parents and society in general and the medical community of trans people, young and old. There is clearly still a long way to go, but we're definitely moving in the right direction.
The intrusion into young children's minds
and bodies. The intrusion, like they're strapped down and forced. Okay, we pick you. You will be transgender. Here, we're going to pump you full of puberty blockers. That is not how it works.
Is disgusting. It's a collective madness.
A collective madness. Disgusting. I think a lot of her views are disgusting.
And we need to start seeing it as a form of child abuse before it gains any more momentum, especially from the radical left. You know, we all have a biological gender. Gender isn't just whatever you feel like. Gender is determined by your chromosomes. And
it's not determined by your chromosomes. I
hear SJW say all the time, gender is a social construct. If gender was assigned by society, why do you need to take hormones and have certain body parts chopped off in order to change your sex?
I hate it when people like certain body parts chopped off, genital mutilation. People use the most horrible phrasing to talk about trans surgeries to try and make it sound as like scary and gross as possible.
You can never really change into the opposite sex. Like, don't get me wrong, a biological woman, she can identify as a man, she can take all of the hormones she likes.
Ugh. I hate it when people are like so obviously deliberately misgendering a trans person.
She can have all the cosmetic surgery that she likes to turn herself into a man. But at the end of the day, she still has ovaries.
Ops! Ops! He still has ovaries. You just used she pronouns for a guy about 10 times. There is no point correcting yourself once. It feels very sarcastic and disingenuous.
So going back to children, we need to be encouraging our children to be comfortable in their own skin, and especially to be comfortable in their own gender.
Finally, we are agreeing on something. Yes, we do need to encourage kids to be comfortable with themselves, whatever way that might be.
What I personally think is socially constructed is gender identity. And studies have been done to show that a lot of times small children may think that they're trans, but they're actually gay. So that is a huge difference.
On that logic, how do you explain trans people who are gay?
I think a lot of people are also under this illusion that by somehow children transitioning that they will be happier, that their problems will go away, they won't have their depression, whatever. And, physiologically, I think that it could definitely bring about some relief. But mentally, it doesn't seem to appear to be the case.
What is she basing all of this on? Where is it coming from? I feel like she's just plucked out her butt, like, oh, hello. I mean, transitioning will not solve all of your problems, but it will solve the problems related to being trans, or a lot of those problems. And actually, kids who are allowed to transition and be free to express themselves in the way that they want to and they feel they are happier, have lower levels of depression, and also have lower anxiety. So literally the opposite of what she was saying.
And this is another thing with trans lobbyists, is they often use threats to parents about the potential risk of trans suicide as a way of emotionally blackmailing these parents into transitioning their children.
Oh, I'm tired now. I'm done. It's not emotional blackmail, it is fact. The suicide rate and the attempted suicide rate for trans people is astronomically high.
But the thing is that 90% of all people who commit suicide have a mental illness. A lot of people in society say that the high rate of trans suicide has to do with society not accepting them and, of course, gender discrimination. But this is not true. It comes back to mental illness. Again, there is an underlying cause, first and foremost, that we need to address. And that is not my moral or ethical judgment. That is a fact.
That's just her opinion when people are transitioning, whether they're kids or they're adults. You see counsellors, you see therapists, you see people who try and identify exactly what is going on. And any potential underlying causes are treated and addressed.
And even the transition affirming protocol has not been able to solve the problem of trans suicide.
Transitioning actually reduces suicide ideation in trans people. That's a real fact.
So really the fundamentals of what I'm saying is that there is an underlying cause that needs to be addressed.
She's a broken record with this underlying causes thing, and it's her main argument, and it is deeply flawed.
Transitioning children is not the solution. I do believe that it is a form of child abuse.
I don't know how many times I can just sigh in a video, I'm sorry.
And, we also have to look at the hundreds of trans people who detransition, who change their mind. We don't hear too much about them, and I think a lot of this actually has to do with the fact that they're probably silenced by trans lobbyists because it doesn't suit their agenda.
We don't hear as much about people who detransition as people who do transition because the percentage of detransitioners is so tiny. And actually, relatively speaking, we do hear a lot about detransitioners.
If children aren't able to go to war or to drink alcohol or to get married, they're not able to make a decision like changing into the opposite sex, period.
I think what a lot of people fail to understand, including this person, is that being trans is not a choice.
It's child abuse.
I sincerely hope nobody has had a shot for every time she has said child abuse, because that would be bad. Also, for every time she said underlying issues or agenda or far left lobbyists.
And I think that a lot of these trans lobbyists don't have the children's best interests at heart. I think that they clearly have an agenda, and potentially even Big Pharma is financing a lot of these trans lobbyists.
Ooh, conspiracy theory, it's the pharmaceutical company.
I'm not sure, that's just an assumption, but I really I really wouldn't put it past them. I really wouldn't.
It's a bit of a dangerous assumption. I probably would throw that one around too much.
Anyway, guys, I just wanted to kind of make this short and quick, sweet video.
It was not sweet.
I hope you liked it. If you have, feel free to leave your comments. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and make weekly videos. And I will see you guys next time.
That's all I can say. Anyway, yeah, that's everything. That was the video. How delightful was that? I feel like she just has a massive conspiracy theory going on in her head where she's envisaging like a whole big trans recruitment thing. Like we're building an army of trans people and we're gonna overtake the world. I do carry on making these videos because it's quite nice sometimes just to be able to talk back and highlight to the bullshit, basically. So I hope you don't mind these being on the channel once in a while, and I hope you do at least semi-enjoy them, even if they maybe frustrate you. They frustrate me too, but like, don't let it get you down. I do apologise for the alterating, is that the right word? I think so. I do apologise for the lighting changing throughout this video. I didn't want to use my ring light so I could wear my glasses and there wasn't like some huge reflection every time I spoke to the camera, and the sun, you know, how rude of it, just decided to go behind a cloud every so often and then just shine really brightly. I'm going on too much about the lighting. Anyway, I hope you did like this video. Think about giving it a thumbs up and subscribing if you want to, but no pressure. And yeah, as always guys, I will see you next time. Leave your comments below. Much love. Bye!